Alrighty, guys, welcome back to the show for men. Today, we're taking a look at a video called How Marriage Exploits Men, the Hidden Truth. Now, I wouldn't really say it's so much hidden these days because there are probably 10,000 videos made a day put onto YouTube, but it's a thing I think we should talk about regularly so that the new guys coming in here, especially to my channel, get this information. There's always new guys coming in. There's always new guys getting that suppository or guys wanting to learn. So that's why I talk about this stuff. This one is AI generated. I know a few of you guys don't like that sort of thing. I actually don't mind it. So I'm going to talk through it. It doesn't really discount the information anyway, in my opinion.
Think about this honestly. What happens to most men after marriage? Their friend groups shrink or disappear entirely. Their hobbies become selfish unless they serve the family unit. Their free time gets absorbed into household management and family obligations. Their money stops being their money and becomes our money, with the woman typically controlling how it gets spent.
Yep.
This isn't happening by accident, it's happening by design. Women intuitively understand that a man's value to the family unit increases when his options outside that unit decrease. The fewer alternatives he has, the more resources he'll dedicate to maintaining the relationship. So piece by piece, choice by choice, his independent life gets dismantled until he's psychologically and economically trapped.
Oh, that couldn't have been said any more better. I've said stuff like this, very similar things. The guys basically, if you really think about it, I know this is a very negative way to look at it, but I've been married before, and I was only married for a couple of years, but I've experienced this thing firsthand. I know guys who've been married for longer periods of time than that and have confided in me that basically is their life. You're essentially living a life of indentured servitude. You don't get what you sign up for. So what are you getting here? Slowly by slowly, chunks and chunks are taken out of you, and all you do become is a husk of the man that you were before you were married or had a long-term girlfriend or living girlfriend, for that matter. And your main purpose is to provide resources, money, whatever it may be, security, comfort to everybody else, and you don't get too much in return. Now, this may not be the case for 10% of men. I think there are guys out there who do have a good run of it. All right, have great setups with women and all that. The other 9 out of 10 guys, and in those 9 out of 10 guys, the guys that get divorced, raped, and end up on the other side with destroyed lives, paying child support and maintenance for women they're no longer with, will tell you that these talking points in this video are very accurate.
The genius of this system is that it uses the man's own values against him. His desire to be a good husband, a reliable provider, a loving father, these noble impulses become the very chains that bind him. He collaborates in his own imprisonment because resistance feels selfish and irresponsible. Carl Jung wrote, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. But for married men, the most terrifying thing is to recognize how completely they've been domesticated. Look at the language we use. Ball and chain, getting hitched, taking the plunge. Even our casual expressions reveal an unconscious awareness that marriage represents a loss of freedom, not a gain of partnership."
Spot on.
But here's where it gets really dark. The system doesn't just exploit men, it's designed to make them grateful for the exploitation. The concept of happy wife, happy life isn't folk wisdom. It's psychological programming that trains men to prioritize a woman's emotional state over their own needs, desires, and well-being. This creates a fundamental power imbalance where one person's happiness becomes the primary goal, while the other person's happiness becomes conditional on achieving that goal. It's not partnership, it's servitude with better marketing.
Absolutely. So your only value, all right, is to help women achieve a certain kind of life that they want. And if you can't do that, guys, you will see that you will be excommunicado, persona non grata, pretty quickly. When women realize that they've probably gotten the most out of you that they're going to get, the gravy train may be coming to an end, they may need to step in and help you. Now, a lot of the time, I'm going to say a high percentage of them are out the door, or they're thinking about getting out the door. When you may need help, say you lose your job, you are made redundant from your job and you're looking for a job for months and you're stressed and all of that. You may have health issues. You may lose money on investments. There's many different things that can put that security that women want so much at risk. And this is a real eye-opening experience for men, because you do see and realize, really, when you cut back all the BS that women tell you and society tells you, that you are more or less a servant to other people. If you start saying no, putting firm boundaries, start pushing back, start requesting that they help you, most men are going to see quick smart that woman is not interested in doing that.
Schopenhauer observed that a man can be himself only so long as he is alone. Marriage systematically eliminates the solitude and independence that allow men to maintain their authentic identity. They gradually become what their wife needs them to be rather than who they actually are.
Think about this. I've experienced this firsthand, and I'm stopping a little bit here. Have you ever had a girlfriend or even been married to a woman who, when you first got together, they might have loved everything about you? Say, I'll give an example here. Say you had long hair, you had a long beard, you dressed in a certain way. She was into that. She was all about it. Then a couple of years go by, you give up all your leverage by moving them into your house or getting into big financial commitments with them, like mortgages and getting married and maybe having kids. Then they can start picking and poking at all these different aspects of you. Maybe she'll say, oh, your long hair. No, I've never really actually liked that. Cut that off. Yeah, that beard, it looks scraggly. Like, I don't like it. They try and get it cut off. Oh, come down a country road with me and I'll get you all dressed up in a little punsy little outfit. And nice little chino pants and a navy blue polo shirt tucked in with a brown belt. Things that you probably would never have worn, but then you go and end up getting dressed up like a 6-year-old boy with his mum.
Transformation happens so slowly that most men don't notice until it's complete. They start making small compromises, skipping guy's night to keep the peace, choosing her preferred restaurant to avoid conflict, deferring to her judgment on social plans. Each compromise seems reasonable in isolation, but collectively they represent a complete surrender of personal agency. Meanwhile, women's behavior in marriage follows a predictable pattern that reveals the underlying biological programming. During the courtship phase, they maximize their appeal. Frequent sex, shared interests, minimal demands, maximum agreeability. After securing commitment, the dynamic gradually reverses. Sex becomes a reward for good behavior rather than an expression of desire. Shared interests become irrelevant if they don't serve family goals. Demands increase while agreeability decreases. The woman who was once eager to please becomes entitled to be pleased. This isn't conscious manipulation, it's evolutionary programming.
Think about, I always say this to you guys, and we all, look, not all, but most of us have done it. You've led with your wallet. You've done what society tells you to do. You've been Mr. Gentleman. You've taken them out to dates on the first date. You've spent money. Then you've been rejected. So you've gone to spend $100 or $200. Now you've got enough lightly if you cop that. Because a lot of guys who get with women, and I've done this, I had a really nice looking girlfriend when I was a lot younger, probably over 20 years ago now, when I first started seeing her. And she was high maintenance. That's why I stay away from all them now. They're just not worth it, right? The little clunge, it ain't worth it. But I used to run around afterward, drive around Victoria, going taking her to places and doing things and spending all my days off with her and spending money doing this, that, and the other. But it's never enough. You have to keep doing more and more. So at the start, they're happy with you taking them, I don't know, for a picnic somewhere and sitting on a rug and spending $30 to buy a few things to eat. But then it becomes they want to be taken out. They want to go on holidays. Their friends are going on holidays. Her boyfriend took her to Paris. Why aren't you taking me to Paris? Oh, I saw, I don't know, Angela's Instagram, and she was in Boracay in one of those little huts, that are raised over that, blue, sky blue water. Why do we don't do things like this? Is boring. All we ever do is stay home. All you ever want to do is work and save money. I want more. And you feel pressured to continue to pay and increase your financial investment because you don't want to lose a chick, because as men, we've got a sunk cost mindset. We've put money in. You want to keep getting something out of it, not just cut your losses and move on. And so what do? We dump more money in to get worse treatment over time, a lot of the time. I'm not saying this every dude.
Women are biologically wired to secure resources and commitment, then optimize the arrangement for maximum benefit. The man who doesn't understand this programming becomes its victim. Here's the brutal reality that most men refuse to accept. Your wife's love is fundamentally conditional. It's based on your utility, not your intrinsic worth. The moment you stop providing value, whether through income loss, health problems, or simply becoming too familiar, that love begins to evaporate. Divorce statistics prove this point. Women initiate 70 to 80% of divorces, and they do it when the cost-benefit analysis of the marriage shifts in their favor. They don't leave because they're unhappy. They leave because they can get better terms elsewhere, or
that's it. That's what I was saying. Sorry, he's going to say something here. Hang on.
have extracted maximum value from the current arrangement.
This is the way I've always seen it, guys, and I've been called all sorts of things when I say things, either on video or to my friendship group. I've decided now this is my outlet. I like making these videos for guys who like to listen to my musings, listen to my deep inner thoughts. Sometimes I talk rubbish. Sometimes I really go deep and do introspective analysis of the situations that we get ourselves into as men. This is one of those videos. I don't talk to anybody in the real world about this stuff anymore because people just don't want to accept it. They might know it's true. They don't want to accept it. They have to confront that they're also living in this trap. I've always said to guys, and it's a saying I've said a lot here, if you hate sex, you hate money, and you hate autonomy, get married. Because you're going to have none of those things. So if you hate them and don't want them anymore, that's the best way to do it. But as I was saying, these women move on. And I'm not saying they all do it, but the ones that do. Once they've extracted maximum value out of you and realize that there's only vapors left that they can get, they start looking around and they can just cut you off so quickly. But guys will think it just happened overnight or it happened on a day, but really they've been removing themselves emotionally from you for 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, planning the perfect exit strategy. And the guy gets absolutely blindsided. And even if he does comes to his senses and the rose-coloured glasses are smacked off his face, he might start reflecting and going, hang on, my whole value here was a utility. No one gave a shit about me. And that's one other thing too. When you guys go through your deepest, darkest times in life, whether it's you're going through a divorce, you're going through the family court system, you're being litigated against, you might be losing your kids or fighting over kids, and you're a shell of yourself walking around. You're a husk of a man floating around, somehow existing on autopilot while you're just dealing with this stressful situation. Or maybe you've lost a job and it's hard to get a job. People don't want to hear about it. People always say to you, yeah, you'll be right, mate. You'll be right. Just push on through it. When they haven't experienced it themselves, they deflect it. And so guys end up in a real dark place because they're alone. They're alone against the world, and the world is trying to absolutely bend you over and make it incredibly hard for you. I've had some very, very dark times in my life. I didn't sit here from someone who's had a perfect run. I know what it's like to be down and out. I know what it's like to be in a hole. I can tell you that. But did anyone really genuinely care? No. They all care about the woman. Oh, they'll just pat you on the back. Oh, you lost a job. Oh, you'll get another job soon. Don't worry about it. Not realizing how tough it might be to get a job or a similar job. It's just bullshit, really. All right, gents, if you're enjoying my channel, consider becoming a channel member if you would like to support it. Otherwise, you can check out my Patreon, which has my archive videos, about 370 of them over there. The link's in the video description. And if you don't want to do any of those things, just keep watching my videos on YouTube for free. I appreciate all of you. Let's keep going.
family court system completes the exploitation by ensuring that even divorce doesn't free the man from his resource extraction obligations. Alimony, child support, and asset division guarantee that he continues paying for a family structure he can no longer access or benefit from. But here's where the situation becomes truly psychological warfare. Modern marriage doesn't just exploit men economically, it destroys them psychologically by attacking their fundamental sense of identity and purpose. The married man learns that his thoughts, feelings, and desires matter less than maintaining domestic harmony. His role becomes reactive rather than proactive. He exists to solve problems, provide solutions, and absorb emotional burdens. This creates what psychologists call learned helplessness, a condition where repeated exposure to uncontrollable stress causes people to stop trying to escape, even when escape becomes possible. The married man stops asserting his needs because experience has taught him that resistance only creates more problems. He develops what I call domestic Stockholm syndrome,
That's spot on.
identifying with his captor's goals and defending the system that exploits him. He tells himself that sacrifice equals love, that his discomfort is selfish, that real men put family first no matter the personal cost.
I think, in my opinion, if you have children, yes, you should put them first, but not women, especially adults in 2025. There need to be two people working together here. Like society is not possible to succeed in this society. For most men, unless you're making mega bucks, with one person, you need two people teaming up. Isn't that what a marriage is? For most of these young chicks, it's not. It's to extract value out of their husbands. I've got a mate. He's a tradie. He makes some pretty good money. But his wife is this over-entitled. She's very obnoxious. I have to bite my tongue around her. I just sit there and I observe these things and can see exactly what's going on here, how much this guy probably hates his life. She's always going to... so she doesn't work at the moment. She could work, but she doesn't want to. She stays home and she's always buying shit off Amazon, always wants holidays, wants a new car, wants things remodeled in the house, has several gym memberships. So she's got gym and then she's got some sort of yoga one and then some sort of Pilates one. This guy is getting run ragged to provide this life for someone who's adding no value. I'm pretty sure he's probably getting no action. They've been married for quite a while. And you might say, oh, that guy's a complete simp. No, most guys do shit like that because they're so plugged in. They want to keep the woman happy. You know, you see those memes about the guy and he's got his hands, all right? He's got his hands with calluses and dirt and oil and grease on them. And the quote is something like, my hands are like this, so her hands can be like this. And it shows this woman with these perfect, porcelain hands that have never had a day of work. Why do we think like this? Why as men, why are they so superficially focused on sacrificing your entire life for it? It's just programming at its best. I've never subscribed to this, and I've been called all sorts of things, tight ass and scumbag and not romantic. Guess what? Good. I refuse to be exploited anymore. I've been exploited in the past, I would say. Sure, I was putting my hand in my pocket, but I was going along with a program that at the time I did it under a lot of duress. I didn't want to do it. I just wanted to have sex with good-looking young chicks. So I paid and I did things I didn't want to do, and I drove around on my days off and went on holidays I didn't want to go on. Because it's like you're trying to alleviate the demands of a child. Stamping their feet, wanting this, that, and the other. You just want to shut it up.
The most insidious part of this programming is how it's reinforced by society. Media celebrates the family man who sacrifices everything for his wife and children. Religion teaches that selflessness is virtue, and that men should love their wives as Christ loved the church, through complete self-sacrifice. Even other men reinforce this programming. Married men can't admit the reality of their situation without acknowledging their own psychological defeat, so they perpetuate the myth that marriage is partnership while living the reality that it's servitude. If you're recognizing these patterns in your own life or relationships, if this analysis is revealing uncomfortable truths about modern marriage, I encourage you to like this video and subscribe to this channel. Your engagement helps ensure that these conversations continue.
That's good.
Prepared for them. Society teaches men to be providers and protectors without teaching them to protect themselves from the very people they're providing for. Here's what no one tells young men about marriage. The moment you make a woman your primary source of happiness, validation, and meaning, you've already lost. You've handed over your psychological sovereignty to someone whose biological programming prioritizes her needs over yours. This doesn't make women evil, it makes them female. Their behavior follows predictable patterns because those patterns worked for millions of years of human evolution. The women who could successfully extract resources from men reproduced more successfully than those who couldn't. But evolution didn't prepare women to care about men's psychological well-being or individual fulfillment. It prepared them to secure survival and reproductive advantage. Modern marriage gives them legal and social tools to pursue these goals with unprecedented efficiency. The man who understands this reality stops taking female behavior personally and starts responding strategically. He recognizes that marriage isn't about love, it's about leverage, and the person with more options always has more leverage.
Absolutely. As they say, a woman's loyalty is tested by the options in men, especially when they're young. And a man's loyalty is tested when he has the means to attract a lot of women. That being if he becomes very wealthy and has gotten his life together. That's why you see a lot of all these tropes about, middle-aged men cheating on the wife and or getting rid of the wife for the hotter young girlfriend and all of that. It's interesting.
Schopenhauer wrote, "All satisfaction, or what is commonly called happiness, is really and essentially always negative only and never positive." He understood that true contentment comes not from getting what you want from others, but from not needing anything from others to feel complete. This principle destroys the fundamental premise of modern marriage, that happiness comes from partnership and shared life goals. The man who needs marriage to feel fulfilled has already surrendered his power. The man who views marriage as optional maintains his sovereignty. But here's where most men make their fatal error. They believe they can negotiate or earn their way out of these dynamics through better behavior. They think if they just communicate more effectively, provide more resources, or become more attractive, the fundamental power structure will change in their favor. This is like trying to negotiate with gravity. You're not dealing with conscious choices. You're dealing with biological imperatives that operate below the level of awareness. Women don't choose to optimize their relationships for maximum benefit, any more than men choose to find young, fertile women attractive. The only winning move is not to play by rules that guarantee your defeat. Here's the dark secret that successful men understand but never publicly acknowledge. The moment you become indispensable to a woman's lifestyle, you become dispensable as a person. She stops seeing you as an individual with needs, desires, and dreams. You become a function, provider, protector, problem solver, emotional absorber. This functional relationship might look like marriage from the outside, but it's actually sophisticated slavery with occasional sexual benefits.
I want to talk about that. I think it's a lot of guys get trapped into this lifestyle who don't have any options with women. And that's not a sledge. That is just the truth. And they think that the only way ever a woman is going to love them if they do all these things, and every now and again they'll get a little bit of sympathy action. I've had long-term girlfriends. Any man will tell you who's had options and can get action from women, you're going to have the worst sex of your life when you're married. It's just, there's a lot of the time, there's just not much enthusiasm. There's not much effort in the performance from yourself or them. Both get bored. How many times can you fuck the same girl? Excuse my language. I try not to swear on this channel. But how many times can you go and bang the same chick and be excited about it and be pumped about it? It becomes a chore. Go and have a look at Married with Children. Watch that. Like Peggy, she's hot, right? Especially young Peggy. I would have been in the VN. I would have driven an hour to go and see Peggy, no problem. 2 hours, no worries. And then taken her out for McDonald's after. But in all seriously, guys, she's hot. but he doesn't want to bang her because she's a pain in his ass. That's what it's like. I've been married to a very, very attractive woman. She's a complete pain in my neck to the point where I just despised her. I couldn't stand her. I didn't even want to do that. Not even out of revenge. Didn't even want to revenge bang her. She used to just annoy me so much towards the end, especially, that I was not interested. When someone's nagging you and wanting things from you all the time, it's hard to feel genuinely attracted to them, and that's the life of a man. And think about this, and a lot of married men, women just think that men are ready to go and bang them at any given moment, on their terms. You could be in the middle of anything, and they want to come and then say, "Oh, let's go in the bedroom. I've got 20 minutes. Let's go have action." Thinking that you don't need to be worked up in any way. You might not be in the mood as well. That was something that always really annoyed me. So whenever you want it, that's the time. Whenever the guy wants to do it, they'll find a reason not to do it. And you'll see people say, "Oh, well, certain YouTubers said that, you've got to remain deep burning desire and all this sort of shit." When you're married, that shit goes right out the window. You can do it when you're dating. You can do it when they're trying to be on their best behavior to get the ring. Once you're married, guys, all that power is gone. I'm telling you that now.
The man provides labor and resources while the woman manages the household and controls access to affection. It's efficient, but it's not partnership. The psychological toll of this arrangement explains why married men die younger, have higher rates of depression, and often seem like shadows of their former selves. They're not suffering from normal life stress. They're suffering from chronic psychological exploitation disguised as love. But society won't acknowledge this reality because the entire economic system depends on men's willingness to sacrifice their individual fulfillment for family obligations. The man who prioritizes his own happiness over family duty threatens the social order that requires male sacrifice to function. This is why men who question marriage are labeled selfish, immature, or commitment phobic. The system can't survive honest analysis, so it uses shame and social pressure to prevent men from thinking clearly about the transaction they're entering. Here's where Schopenhauer's philosophy becomes revolutionary. The safest way of not being very miserable is not to expect to be very happy. Applied to relationships, this means not expecting marriage to provide happiness, fulfillment, or unconditional love. When you eliminate these expectations, you eliminate the disappointment that destroys most men's psychological well-being. You start evaluating marriage like any other contract, based on terms, costs, and benefits rather than emotions and social expectations.
I think men do that after they've copped it once, or men who have not been married before but have had a lot of experience with women, and thinking with their big head, right? Not the small head, not with Kawato. Where young guys, they just don't think about this thing, and the ego of man is the biggest downfall of men, because it won't happen to you, it'll happen to some other loser. It's not your girl like that. That other loser picked the wrong girl, or he wasn't man enough for that girl, and that's why she ripped him up and spat him out. It won't happen to you, and it won't happen to me. I even thought the same. Guess what? It did happen to me.
You ask yourself, what am I getting from this arrangement? What am I giving up? And is this trade beneficial to my long-term interests? Most men never ask these questions because they've been programmed to believe that love transcends practical considerations. But love fades, emotions change, and people's needs evolve. The marriage contract remains binding regardless of how anyone feels about it. The man who approaches relationships strategically rather than emotionally maintains his power throughout the interaction. He doesn't surrender his independence hoping to receive loyalty in return. He doesn't sacrifice his identity expecting to be appreciated for it. He doesn't make someone else responsible for his happiness and then resent them when they inevitably fail to deliver. This strategic mindset requires developing what Schopenhauer called the art of not being deceived. You must learn to recognize the difference between what women say and what they actually respond to. They claim to want sensitive, emotionally available men who prioritize their feelings, but their behavior consistently rewards men who prioritize their own mission and maintain emotional independence. Watch how women treat men in their social circles. The guy who drops everything when she calls gets taken for granted. The guy who's sometimes unavailable because he has important things to do gets pursued. The guy who seeks her approval for his decisions loses her respect. The guy who makes decisions and invites her along maintains her interest. This isn't conscious deception on women's part. They genuinely believe they want what they say they want. But their subconscious programming responds to completely different signals. They're attracted to strength, challenged by independence, and bored by predictability. Yet they'll shame men for displaying these exact qualities when it suits their immediate emotional needs.
I've always found being shamed was by my friends married, right? My friends are married, their wives, married women. They don't like to see you out doing your own thing because you might give ideas to either their husbands or other men. You're not following the program's scripts. And I can't understand why you might not want to sign up again to the worst deal in history. I've been shamed heaps of times. Maybe my friends, back when I was early out in the dating scene, I don't tell people about what I get up to now. But back in the early days, you go camping or whatever and you're sitting around and they're asking what you get up to. So you start telling them stories and all this sort of shit. And they probably go home and tell their wives and that about it. And then the wives are like, oh, well, does it sound fun to you? I don't want you hanging out with him anymore. He's not a good influence. And I've been shamed, women directly saying to me, aren't you afraid of being lonely? Aren't you lonely doing that, going on all those dates? No, it's fucking awesome. All right, banging heaps of chicks is fun if you can do it. All right. Why would I want to be saddled to one chick who's going to take all my money off me for some subpar action when I can go out and see multiple women, pay minimal, and have no financial penalties put upon me if it doesn't work out when you decide to get rid of them? Never understood that.
Modern man must navigate this contradiction by understanding that women's conscious desires often conflict with their unconscious programming. You can't listen to what they say they want. You must observe what actually generates attraction and respect in their behavior. Instead, he builds a life so compelling that partnership becomes optional rather than necessary. He develops purposes so consuming that he's not dependent on relationships for meaning. He becomes so comfortable with solitude that companionship must genuinely add value rather than fill emotional voids. This psychological independence is attractive precisely because it's rare. Most men are so desperate for validation and connection that they'll accept almost any terms to get it.
That is spot on. And on that note, I'm going to leave it because this one's got quite a few more minutes left. Go and watch it if you want to watch. If you want to see the whole thing. I think there's some really good points in these more philosophical videos. Men will accept, listen to that, men will accept any terms to get a minor sniff of some clunge fumes. It is true. All right, guys, thank you for watching. For those who have made it to the end, let me know in the comments and appreciate it. See you in the next video.